Hey all, just trying to check out this, just testing out the audio. I don't know if anyone can hear me. Just give me a second. Hey everyone, I'm just trying to figure out if you can actually hear me. If you couldn't tell, I am new to the whole Twitch thing. And so it's a matter of trying to figure out if people can hear me. If anyone's here and they can hear me, let me know in the chat. Because I can't tell otherwise. Just hold on. Let's see. Oh, you can hear me. Okay, good. So let's get this started. Welcome, everyone. Oh my god, that's blurry. Welcome to this first stream. I'm just doing some finishing touches. Just doing some finishing touches on this. Because I had to get my hands on. Oh my god, that's blurry. Here's a pro tip. Never get a camera that has built-in autofocus, or one that you cannot turn off, which seems to be the case here. I mean, the setup is kind of temporary. I've got something on the way that I think should be a lot better for the next one. But either way, welcome everyone to this new talking experiment that I've got going on. Oh my god, focus. There we go. And, I mean, I've always been told, I'm told from time to time that I have a decent voice, and I'd like to think that's true, but I can't really tell on my own. But I figure, why not try this little project where I basically just read, which is what this is. The idea is going to be, oh my god, come on. The idea is to basically just read from my collection of books, which is pretty eclectic. It's fairly all over the place. I've got novels. I've got a lot of nonfiction. I've got some essay compilations. I've got these books about graphic novels, not necessarily graphic novels themselves, which I'm not really into. Although I have like one or two graphic novels. I've got plenty of cookbooks though, so that's nice. So the plan right now is to do this every Tuesday and Thursday, going forward for 1, 2, 3 hours, however long I kind of feel like doing it. or until people actually start watching this and start getting, I don't know, invested. But I do hope, though, that my voice can, I don't know, be considered soothing to somebody out there. I mean, again, this is the inaugural stream, if the title didn't give it away. It's really my first time doing this, but I figure, yeah, you got to start somewhere. And that hopefully, the more you do this, or the more I do this, the more better I'll be at reading aloud. Because, I mean, I've done it before, just not for like an hour or 2 hours, something like that. That being said, I figure, the first stream, let's keep it simple and easy. I've got this one book. It's The Cool School, Writing from America's Hip Underground, compiled and edited by Glenn O'Brien. Now, Glenn O'Brien was a acolyte of Andy Warhol within the Factory. He was with him in the 70s and 80s. I think mostly the 80s. And from what I understand, Glenn was I think he was almost like a assistant to Warhol. If that means a PA, like just something as simple as a PA, or if that means something more substantial, I don't know. But full disclosure, I actually met Glenn O'Brien during my tenure at SVA. When I was a student at SVA. SVA being School of Visual Arts in Manhattan. And the photo program there, which is what I was a part of, has a thing called the Mentors Program, which is essentially what it sounds like. You're partnered up, or you can request, but you're partnered up with somebody generally in the photo community or the photo community adjacent. And this is all in the second half of your senior year, and you basically just meet with them in person or remotely, and you share your work. You kind of get advice from them. It's really a great program, actually. That was I think one of the biggest benefits of going there. That and the community that you have for getting like critiques for your work. As in, we would second, third, and fourth years. You always have a 3-hour class every week where you would just bring in new work, and you would show it to the group, and everyone would critique it. And let me tell you, not having that anymore, that's maybe the thing I miss the most, actually, about the place. That and their equipment. Their equipment also was obscenely fantastic. I mean, Canon 5Ds, every lens you could use or could want, Profoto boxes and kits, Hasselblads and Hasselblad digital backs. I mean, they had everything. Studios you could rent out. I mean, it was actually really, I'm assuming that's where most of the tuition went to, because boy oh boy is all that stuff expensive. That being said, though, my mentor was Glenn O'Brien, who I was paired with, which originally confused me, but the photo chair at the time, Stephen Fraley, said, I think it's going to be a good match between the two of you. And I think he was right, actually. It turned out pretty well. Glenn was very soft-spoken, but very, very intelligent, and absolutely knew what he was doing, knew his references, all that stuff. He unfortunately passed away a few years ago now. Well, more than a few years ago, I think 2017, 18, which is extremely unfortunate, because I think he was obviously too young. But like when I met him, though, he gave me this book, which he had just finished, and it's a compilation of writers from the 60s and 50s. So it's like a lot of underground writers, as you can see here. Nope. Come on. There we go. Like, oh yeah, William S. Burroughs, Bob Dylan, Jack Smith, Rudolph Wurtzlinger, Ishmael Reed, Bobby Louis Hawkins, Andy Warhol, Hunter S. Thompson, Richard Meltzer, Norman Mailer, Norman Mailer, Iris Owens, Lester Bangs, Richard Hell, Cookie Mueller, Gary Indiana, Richard Prince. He put himself in here as a writer. Why not? But I've gone through this before, and it's good. I like it. If you're into this sort of thing. Oh yeah, Miles Davis. Oh my God. There we go. I'm starting to realize too that this webcam, I'm pretty sure, is meant for. Well, I'm pretty sure it's meant to be farther away than 1.5 feet, which is where it currently is. My current rig, it's more of a jury rig, as in it's just this web camera dangling off the monitor, which is why, if you can tell, you got the bottom of the monitor here. But like I said, I've got some equipment coming in on like Saturday or Sunday that should hopefully alleviate it. That, and then I think I can use the DSLR, which would be so much better, because I think a lot of the times these. Also, another full disclosure: I don't use Twitch, or I don't watch streams on Twitch. This is all relatively new to me, but I figured this was going to be the best way for me to do this was through this site, because I am weirdly enough not a fan of my own voice, and I figured doing a live stream would be probably the best way to do this, because it's not minimal effort, but minimal interaction with this video. But yeah, no, so that's why I think I know a lot of streams do like the video capture for the main monitor, and then like kind of in the little corner is their face cam. But in my case, it's nothing but face cam, because I have no video games to play. Although I could play games in the future, but they would probably be, to try to keep up with this general theme I'm looking at doing with this stream. I could do, kind of like relaxing games. What does that mean? I don't know, but I know they're out there, these alleged relaxing games. Because really, I do think the whole point of the stream is to hopefully, be considered soothing, or at least calming. Not so much like guided meditation, but more NPR talk radio, I would say. Or who really has the best voices, which I think are always very underappreciated, are baseball television announcers. Which, as weird as it sounds, because I think a lot of people, especially people who don't watch sports, they hear, when they think of sports announcers, they think of like the Mexican announcers for soccer, the one screaming goal for 5 minutes. That's not really kind of what I'm thinking of. If you listen to, especially like local broadcasts, if you listen to baseball being broadcast on TV, the announcers are always like they are straight out of talk radio. They a lot of them probably are, actually, or it wouldn't surprise me. And the team that I follow, Go Giants, both their guys are phenomenal, especially the older guy. I forget his name, but his voice is like very rich and warm, but it's tough to describe. Like not oily, but like kind of velvety, I guess, like smooth. So that's kind of what I'm that's kind of like the vibe I'm looking for, because I know that there's plenty of streamers out there who really consist of like screaming and like craziness and like stuff like that. I don't want that, because it's really not my thing, and it's not something I would want to watch. This, I mean, I would probably watch. Maybe I would at least have it on in the background. I just have to remember to speak slowly, because my head is unfortunately set at basically at 2 times speed, kind of like what you can do on YouTube. You speed up the video, but that's how my mind works. And so when I talk, to me, it sounds like I'm talking at normal speed, but for everyone else, it's going fast. So I have to purposely enunciate and slow down my words, kind of like what I'm doing right now. And honestly, it's kind of excruciating. But I'll get through it. I mean, it's only been 15 minutes. I was going to say, too, I'm looking at, doing this for Tonight shouldn't be that long, like, I don't know, an hour, a little over an hour, at the most 2 hours. Some nights might go on longer, because some things I have here, like there are certain books here that I have that I would actually want to read all the way through. Not in one night, but like over multiple streams. Because some of the things I have here are, I think, entertaining enough to read all the way through. You'll see what I mean when I bring them out. That, and I'd like to just try to read really whatever I can get my hands on. Like I mentioned earlier, I have a pretty eclectic collection of stuff here. But I live in New York. Fancy water. I live in New York, and, out here, you could literally just walk down the street. People are leaving books out on the sidewalk all the time, along with furniture, weird statues, like weird art, electronics. Like we leave out everything because we know that someone will come by and pick it up. So I could literally just read books. I could make that a stream, actually, which is to say just stuff. I could, I could just read stuff out of books that I find on the street. Like, just make that a theme, which would be fun. I'm also looking into, if anyone knows who Chuck Tingle is on Amazon, one, you really need to look him up because his stuff is amazing. And two, I'm definitely going to read his stuff at some point. Maybe make that also like a theme tonight. Because his stuff, boy oh boy, is it out there. But I figured I've talked enough, or BS'd enough, so that let's just get this started. I figure a good start is this, I guess you could call it an essay, but it's this writing by a writer called, named Del Close, who was, like one of the underground writers. He might have been a comedian, though, too. Let's read it, though. Del Close was an actor first, coming up in a St. Louis troupe that included Mike Nichols and Elaine May. In New York, he did stand-up, acted on Broadway in The Nervous Set, and in 1959 cut a comedy record called How to Speak Hip. It was hipster self-criticism, goofing on the nouveau hip, and it was a big hit. Even as satire, it converted many of its audience to the groovy pose. Close later went to Second City, directed by the Committee Theater Troupe in San Francisco, rode with Ken Kesey's Merry Pranksters, and was house metaphysician at Saturday Night Live. So he's definitely been around. He's best known as a mentor to Dan Aykroyd, John Belushi, John Candy, Chris Farley, Tina Fey, Bill Murray, Amy Poehler, Gilda Radner, and Harold Ramis. So, again, he sounds like he's almost like one of the godfathers of modern comedy, if those names mean anything. I mean, hell, some of those names are kind of actually the godfathers of today's comedy, so he might be the godfather. Anyways, so this is from Del Close, 1959, How to Speak Hip. Let's get into it. Dictionary of Hip Words and Phrases. Ace, $1. Also a friend. I'm tight with him. He's my ace, buddy. Action. What's happening? What's shaking, baby? Where's the action? Also, that's going to be my Beatnik hipster voice. And now you see why I don't want to have to listen to this back. Axe. Musical instrument. Also, any tool with which you make your living. Amp. Ampule. Amphetamine. A powerful stimulant. Amphetamine head. Habitual user of amphetamine. They are noted for their never-ending stream of chatter, their misguided energy, and their unreliability. So, like me. That joke would have made more sense if, I actually pointed at myself and you can see where I was pointing, but whatever. Baby. A friendly form of address used for persons of either sex. Bad. Good. Monk blows bad piano man. Also, occasionally, bad. He's a bad face man, and I don't want him around. So, makes perfect sense. Bad is good and bad is bad. Bad news. A dreary, unpleasant, or dangerous person. Here comes Mr. Bad News. Bag. Very general term for a set of circumstances, a complex of behavior patterns, etc. I'm going to Mexico to study the teaching of Gurdjieff. Oh, you're in that bag. Apologies to Gurdjieff. If I mispronounce your name, I know I am. Ball. Pleasurable experience. It was great. I had a ball. So yeah, clearly a lot of these are not exactly what we'd be considering new lingo today. But, you know, everything has to start somewhere. Especially slang terms. Beatnik. A term coined by Herb Caen of San Francisco to describe the self-proclaimed members of the Beat generation living in the North Beach area. A much abused term, now mostly applied to teenage bohemians, or anything else that's funny-looking or whom you don't happen to like. Similar to a communist in that respect. Beat, too. Like, you know, to beat. To steal. He beat me for my short. As in, he stole my car. Behind. Under the influence of. I get very goofy behind lush, so I don't drink. Also, as a result of, I'm very strung out behind no sleep. Bill. $100. Blow. To play any musical instrument. He blows bad guitar. Also, to make. My old lady blows nutty scrambled eggs. What? Also, to lose. Be here by 5 o'clock or you'll blow the gig. Or, I blew my watch. As in, I lost my watch. Boss. Very good. That Mercedes is a Boss short. Box. Phonograph. So, you know, not exactly up to date. Boxed. High. Stoned. Bread. Money. Lay some bread on me, baby. I'm uptight. Bug. To annoy or irritate. Don't bug me, Jim. To be burned. To be cheated or swindled. What happened to that project in which we invested $20 apiece? I'm sorry, boys. I got burned. What can I tell you? Also, angry. I don't know why my Beatnik voice is all of a sudden turning southern, but... what can you do? Burn down. To create an atmosphere in which no action is possible. Nothing's happening on East 3rd Street, man. All those uncool people burned it down. Bring down. A depressing person or thing. Again, it's just, yeah. Busted. Arrested for a reason. Charlie the Gizzard took a fall, man. He got tapped in that big bust last June. Cat. Male hipster. Tough changes. Hard times. Changes. Originally musical chord changes. Now refers to psychological or emotional changes. Man, when you came through that door in that ape suit, I went through a terrible change. What? Right. To put through changes. To do purposeful violence to a person's state of mind. To disorient. To startle and amaze. See, put on and riff, which I'm sure we will. Chick. Girl. Chops. Embouchure, or lips. Extended to mean any part of the body used to play an instrument. A pianist's chops are his hands. A tap dancer's chops are his feet. And his shoes are his axe. City. A suffix used for emphasis. You went to the Elks meeting. What was it like? What can I tell you? It was Clad City. Again, just nonsense, but, you know, it's... These things made sense to somebody. Clyde. An offensive square, a hick. That's why. Come down. To return to normal from a high. To come on. How one presents oneself. To say that someone comes on strong means that he has an overdeveloped personality. Also to make sexual overtones. You see, that's more today's standard. So I was trying to sound her, but she said, "Don't come on me, baby. My old man's outside." Oh, excuse me, "Don't come on with me, baby. My old man's outside." That original one had a very different meaning. Connection. The man you buy it from. whatever it is, aka the man. Cook. To do what you do well. When he started blowing piano, I couldn't see nothing happening, but now he's starting to cook. Cool. Safe, good, all right, yes, appropriate. An outlook, an attitude, a type of jazz. Cool it means stop it, leave, relax, change the subject, etc. Cop. To obtain either by purchase or by theft. Many hip expressions owe their validity to being more inclusive in meaning than their English equivalents. See old lady. Cop out. Excuse, shield, cover story. Count. The amount. Was it a good count? No, man, I got burned. These hypothetical beatniks are always getting burned. Crazy. Obsolete term of approval. Crib. Apartment or pad. Musician's term. Cut or cut out. Leave or split. Dig. Understand. Appreciate. Also to look at or listen to. To pay attention. Often used as interjectory, punctual verbal punctuation. To command attention or to break up thoughts. Dig. We were walking down 10th Avenue. You dig it? And dig. Here comes this cop. So dig. Here's what we did. I'm guessing it's probably similar to how people use like nowadays. Although I think that's... the like part is unintentional. At least it is with me. I definitely do not try to intentionally say like every 30 seconds. Although I think I do. It's either that or Anyways. Do up. To use up or destroy. We did up the dope and then we did up the car. Down home. Oddly enough, a phrase of approval. A down-home stud is a man endowed with the old-fashioned virtues of honesty and integrity. Down to earth. Solid. Also funky, earthy. Drag. A person or thing that is boring or depressing. What a drag. What a bring down. I'm drug up with this party. I'm going to cut out. Dues. The disadvantages you will put up with in order to get what you want. The punishment for unwise behavior. The eye. The television set. Eyes. Desire. I got big eyes for some scoff man starvin'. Or more simply, I'm gonna split you eyes. Meaning, do you want to come? Again, how does that make sense? I don't know. I'm merely reading from Mr. Close. Face. Person. He's a West Coast face. To take a fall. To be arrested. Fall by. Visit. Fall in. Enter. Fall out. Go to sleep suddenly. Like when you said fall by, we thought we'd fall over and fall in on you, but blew it, and we fell out. So, it's another part that makes perfect sense. To take a fall by, fall in, fall out. They mean completely different things. Why not? I won't judge these weirdos. Far out. Weird, difficult to understand, strangely motivated. He's a very far out cat. He sleeps in a bath full of jellied consomme. That is a little strange. Fink. An informer. Lowest form of animal life. Flick. Movie. Flip. To go crazy. Less literally, to flip over something means to like it a great deal. Forget it. Expression of contempt. Freak. Someone who likes something very much or exclusively. A girl who only goes for musicians is a musician freak. I can't smoke the cigarettes, man. I'm a menthol freak. Freak scene. Swinging, but not monogamously. Freaky. Strange, odd, funny. Full out. Full out, or full. Complete or utter. It was a full shuck. She's a full out freak. Funky. Earthy, down home. When pronounced funky, it means very earthy, very down home. Fuzz. The police. Originally a pickpockets term stemming from the fact that police had nothing in their pockets but fuzz. So if you get anything out of this stream, it's now you know the origins of the word fuzz for police. Gas. Superlative. It was a gas. I mean, it was a wig. Geets. Homemade telephone slugs. Because, sure. Get in the wind. To leave, cut out. Good people. A good person. I dig Charlie, man. He's good people. Grease. Money. Also means to eat or food. To groove behind. To like or enjoy. I groove behind raspberry sherbet. Groovy. Coming back into use as a complimentary adjective. She's a groovy chick. Hang up. A fascinating object or concept. Also a psychological block or personality quirk. Head. Originally a marijuana smoker or tea head. Now very similar in meaning to freak. A greedy person is a greed head. Heat. Police. High. Intoxicated by narcotics, marijuana, stimulants, depressants, what you will. Shoe polish is a nutty high. Also, I just like to go on record, do not get high from shoe polish. Hinkty. Hincty. Hinkty. Paranoid. Overly nervous about the police. You bring me now when you go into your hinkty bag. Hip. To know. To be aware. Hipster. A fully paid up member of hip society. At least that's what it used to mean. Nowadays, who knows? Hippie. A junior member of hip society who may know the words but hasn't fully assimilated the proper attitude. Again, I think it has a much different meaning these days. Hippie dip. Derogatory term for hippie, which I feel like we should bring back at least that word. Holding. To have on one's person whatever is needed, usually drugs or money. Hooked. Addicted. Hook. A mania. A satyr may be said to have a terrible chick hook. Horn. The telephone. Get on the horn, call me up. Hung up. Neurotic. Also to be in a position in which one is robbed of choice, frustrated. Also fascinated. Hustle. To work in a field other than your own. Are you gigging steady? No, man, I'm hustling. Scuffling. Hustler. A survival artist, usually with no visible source of income, often engaged in small-time illegal activity. In front. Before. In advance. I want the bread up front. Into something. Someone who is putting good creative ideas into his work may be said to be into something. High compliment. Jim. An uncomplimentary form of address. A one-word put down. Call yourself, Jim. So, could that be possibly like their version of almost of how we use the name Karen as a put down? Is that possible? Sure. Let's say it is now. Jive. A fearsome insult. Originally in 3 words. Now, the second 2 words are usually left unspoken. You jive? I can't stand all them jive people. Joint. Marijuana cigarette. Obviously. Juice. Liquor. Juice head. A habitual drunk, a lush. Juiced. Drunk. Junkie. A narcotics addict. Later. Goodbye. Also a derogatory term similar to forget it. Later for that man. Lay on. To give. Lay a deuce on me till Tuesday. Lend me $2. Like. A form of verbal punctuation. The extensive use of this word would seem to indicate that the hipster is unconsciously aware of the fact that he can never communicate exactly what he wants to say, and that what he is saying is at best an approximation of what he intends to communicate. So, wow, why not you just fully call me out then? and everyone else under the age of 60. Loose wig. To be free to swing creatively is to have a loose wig. Make. To take. I make mescaline about twice a year. To make. I made him for the fuse by the way he came on. I guess that he was probably a police officer because of the way he behaved. To make it. To be good. Train really makes it, man. To make it with. To have an affair with somebody is to make it with him or her. I'm making it with Jenny now. Man, she really makes it. Man. A neutral form of address for the either sex. The man. The police. Also, the connection. Mother. Friendly form of address. There you go, mother. Nod. A brief nap. It's uncool to nod on the street corner waiting for the light to change. Nutty. Nice, good, attractive. Also a phrase of agreement or assent. Okay, now we're getting into some old-timey words, as you'll see what I mean in a second. Au fait. Negro term for white person. Pig Latin for foe. Old lady. Lover or wife. Old man. Lover or husband. This is a significant attitude, drawing as little distinction as possible between lover and marital partner. To off. To steal. Dig the chandelier? I offed it from a church. Off the wall. Weird, unlikely, far out. Out. Similar to, but more complimentary than far out. They're a nutty group, man. They blow out some sounds. Pad. A hip home or apartment. To pick up on. To pay attention to listen to. Let's go pick up on some sounds. Also to take or make. I've been clean for a month. I would dig to pick up some pot. To discover. Ever since Rogue pick up on some Islam, he's been a different cat. Pin. To examine with full attention. I pinned him and I make him a full-out fraud. Pinned. Pupils dilated. Am I pinned? Popped. Arrested or busted. Pot. Marijuana. A pound. $5. Which is weirdly specific. Put down. To reject. To denigrate. Also an insult. What a terrible put down. Put on. A favorite sport of the hipster, occasionally vicious. A variety of practical joke in which the victim is not aware that he is being had. See also riff. Reefer. Once meant marijuana cigarette, now refers to a quantity of marijuana. The difference in this case between hip and non-hip depends on the article. It is unhip to ask for a reefer, but have you gotten a reefer is acceptable. Under certain circumstances, of course. So, now you also know how to properly ask for some marijuana from your local hipster. Riff. Originally an improvised instrumental solo, now a conversational solo. Harold blew a nutty riff about the alligators in the New York subway. A riff can be used in a put-on. Man, I never know whether you're coming on straight or just riffing at me. Roach. The unsmoked remains of a joint. Salty. Angry. Salty. To jump. To come on in an angry way. Scarf. To eat. Scoff. To eat. Scarf and scoff are also used as nouns. Let's pick up some scarf. Score. To make a successful deal with a connection. Also to succeed with a girl. Scuffle. To hustle. Shades. Sunglasses. Shaking. Happening. As in, what's shaken? Short. Car. Short line. Very little money. I hung up behind a very short line. It's a fun gig, but short line. As in, it's a good job, but the pay is small. Shuck. A con, fraud, or put on. Scam. A practical improvisation. How are we going to decorate this coffee house on $43? Take it off your wig, we'll scam it. As in, don't worry about it, we'll scuffle something together. Also, a synonym for shuck. A fraud may be called a full scam. Scene. Where the happenings happen. When I came back in from the coast, all my buddies had split the scene. Also a party. Call up some people. Where are we? Oh, call up some people. We'll make a scene. Sides. Records. Slam. Jail. Or the slammer. Something else. Something very good indeed. Sound. To ask. I sounded him about a gig, but nothing's happening. As in, I asked him about a job, but there were no openings. Sounds. Music. Haven't got any sounds at your pad? Do you have a radio or a phonograph? Split. To leave. Square. Conventional, unimaginative, a babbit. Straight. High or stoned. Fall by and I'll straighten your head for you. Also, not high, not stoned. Down. To get straight means to get whatever you need. Need any bread? No, baby, I'm straight. To straighten someone means to give him the correct information, what he needs, or to give him. Straights. Civilian cigarettes. Stone. Complete as in full. She's a stone freak. He's a stone pro. Stoned. Very high. Stash. A secret hiding place for illicit goods. Often elaborate or imaginative. Strung out. Far gone, physically or mentally. When one's source of supply is cut off, one is strung out. Stud. A male. To swing. To be happy or successful or both. To enjoy oneself. To groove. Taking care of business. Attending to the annoying but essential practical details of existence without losing one's ability to swing. The phrase, he takes care of business, often has the ring of admiration. I should probably repeat that one because it's kind of important. Attending to the annoying but essential practical details of existence without losing one's ability to swing. Swing meaning to be happy or successful or both. The phrase, he takes care of business, often has the ring of admiration. So we all should strive to be taking care of business. Taste. A sample. Tapped. Arrested. There you go. A greeting. Hello. Tight. On close, friendly terms. I'm tight with him. He's a good friend of mine. Tossed. Searched by the police. The man tossed my short and they found a roach. That's how I got tapped. Tough. Very good. Tough changes. Hard times. The tube. Television. Turn on. To get high. Also to become interested in something. I got turned on to Stendhal in high school and I dig him out, man. He's too much. Twisted. High or straight. Uncool. Dangerously uncautious. Uptight. In a difficult position. Viper. Marijuana smoker. Wasted. Very high. Also, to inflict physical damage on someone is to waste him. He got into his violent bag, you dig? So I told him, don't come on with me, Jim. I'll do it up your head. So he did anyway, so I wasted him. What's shaking? As in, what's happening? Wheels. Car. Wig. Mind. You can't stop his wig, man. He's got ideas. To wig. To flip happily. I told him the good news, and he wigged out. Zonked. Very high, stoned, twisted, wasted, turned around, smashed, boxed. So from How to Speak Hip, 1961. That was Del Close. That was good. I hope everyone learned some new words to teach their friends and family and or children. I figure I could do let's do another one. And the question is who? Because it's pretty diverse. Here we go. It's a pretty diverse group of people. We got like Lenny Bruce, Bob Dylan, Jack Smith. Who would be fun to read? Let's see. William Burroughs. Yeah, I'm surprised Allen Ginsberg is not in this thing. Because Burroughs is, and Kerouac is. Both of them are. Rudolf Wurtzler, Byron Geisen, Ishmael Reed. Well, I think it also depends on... I think it also depends on what kind of stuff you'd want to hear. Bobby Louise Hawkins. I mean, I know I'm going to have to choose pretty quickly. Because as fun as it is to probably look at me sitting here flipping through a book, we could do Hunter S. Thompson. I actually was, I've been, for years now, I've been wanting to get a copy of Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trail 1972. Because, of course, everyone knows Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, but I know that Thompson followed the George McGovern campaign for president in 1972, which I don't know if anyone knows. Well, I assume most people know, but like that was for Richard Nixon's reelection, and also the election that started Watergate, or at least the break-in at Watergate was from that election, and which is why ironic, because Nixon didn't even need to do it because he wanted a landslide. But I am curious though of what Thompson's opinions were about McGovern's campaign, because I'm sure, knowing him, I'm sure he had opinions. Yeah, well, let's do Hunter S. Thompson, because I think this is it's from an excerpt from Fear and Loathing. After spending years at the low end of the journalism food chain, as sports writer, copy boy, newspaper stringer, and writer for underground newspapers, Hunter S. Thompson spent a year writing with the Hells Angels, which resulted in his first book, Hells Angels, the strange and terrible saga of the outlaw motorcycle gangs. The success of that book gave him entree into respectable venues such as Esquire and Harper's, then Rolling Stone. Few cultural publications have exhibited less tolerance for humor than Rolling Stone, but they almost made up for it by giving Hunter S. Thompson carte blanche, even if many times owner Jan Wenner jerked Thompson's leash and ended up killing stories that might have been masterpieces, such as his take on the fall of Saigon. Thompson's Rolling Stone debut chronicled his run for sheriff of Aspen, Colorado, which I actually would really recommend reading. It's a lot of fun. And marked the beginning of the gonzo journalism that gave us Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, excerpted here. Thompson's style was the ethniogenic apotheosis of the new journalism. So again, he was like a mainstream writer, but he was also underground, if that makes sense. Kind of both at the same time. I mean, I assume a lot of people have their own Hunter S. Thompson impersonations, some better than others. I will not attempt to do one because I don't want to embarrass myself. I mean, I could try, but I'll just read this straight up. Because if you ever look up a clip of him talking, he has a very distinctive speaking pattern. Anyways, this is from Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. A night on the town, confrontation at the Desert Inn, drug frenzy at the Circus. Saturday midnight. Memories of this night are extremely hazy. All I have, for guide pegs, is a pocket full of Keno cards and cocktail napkins, all covered with scribbled notes. Here is one. Get the Ford man. Get the Ford man to demand a Bronco for race observation purposes. Photos? Los Rada/call. Why not a helicopter? Get on the phone. Lean on the fuckers. Heavy yelling. Another says, sign on Paradise Boulevard. Stopless and topless. Bush League sex compared to L.A. Pasties here. Total naked public humping in L.A. Las Vegas is a society of armed masturbators. / gambling is the kicker here. / sex is extra. / weird trip for high rollers. House whores for winners. Handjobs for the bad luck crowd. A long time ago, when I lived in Big Sur down the road from Lionel Olay, I had a friend who liked to go to Reno for the crap shooting. He owned a sporting goods store in Carmel, and one month he drove his Mercedes highway cruiser to Reno on 3 consecutive weekends. winning heavily each time. After 3 trips, he was something like $15,000 ahead, so he decided to skip the 4th weekend and take some friends to dinner at Nipatine. Always quit winners, he explained, and besides, it's a long drive. On Monday morning, he got a phone call from Reno, from the general manager of the casino he'd been working out on. "We missed you this weekend," said the GM. "The pitmen were bored." "Shucks," said my friend. So the next weekend, he flew up to Reno in a private plane with a friend and 2 girls, all special guests of the GM. Nothing too good for high rollers. And on Monday morning, the same plane, the casino's plane, flew him back to the Monterey airport. The pilot lent him a dime to call a friend for a ride to Carmel. He was $30,000 in debt, and 2 months later, he was looking down the barrel of one of the world's heaviest collection agencies. So he sold a store, but that didn't make the nut. They could wait for the rest, he said, but then he got stumped, which convinced him that maybe he'd be better off borrowing enough money to pay the whole wad. Mainline gambling is a very heavy business, and Las Vegas makes Reno seem like your friendly neighborhood grocery store. For a loser, Vegas is the meanest town on earth. Until about a year ago, there was a giant billboard on the outskirts of Las Vegas saying, "Don't gamble with marijuana. In Nevada, possession. 20 years. Sale life." Come on. So I was not entirely at ease drifting around the casinos on the Saturday night with a car full of marijuana and head full of acid. We had several narrow escapes. At one point, I tried to drive the Great Red Shark into the laundry room of the Landmark Hotel, but the door was too narrow, and the people inside seemed dangerously excited. We drove over to the Desert Inn to catch the Debbie Reynolds/Harry James show. "I don't know about you," I told my attorney, "but in my line of business, it's important to be hep." "Mine too," he said, "but as your attorney, I advise you to drive over to the Tropicana and pick up on Guy Lombardo. He's in the Blue Room with his Royal Canadians." "Why?" I asked. "Why what? Why should I pay out my hard-earned dollars to watch a fucking corpse? Look," he said, "why are we out here? To entertain ourselves or to do the job?" "The job, of course," I replied. We were driving around in circles, weaving through the parking lot of a place I thought was the Dunes, but it turned out to be the Thunderbird. Or maybe it was the Hacienda. My attorney was scanning the Vegas visitor, looking for hints of action. "How about Nickel Nick's Slot Arcade?" he said. "Hot slots. That sounds heavy. 29-cent hot dogs." Suddenly people were screaming at us. We were in trouble. 2 thugs wearing red gold military overcoats were looming over the hood. "What the hell are you doing?" one screamed. "You can't park here." "Why not?" I said. It seemed like a reasonable place to park. Plenty of space. I'd been looking for a parking spot for what seemed like a very long time. Too long. I was ready to abandon the car and to call taxi, but then yes, we found this space, which turned out to be the sidewalk in front of the main entrance to the Desert Inn. I'd run over so many curves by this time that I hadn't even noticed this last one. But now we found ourselves in a position that was hard to explain. Blocking the entrance, thugs yelling at us, bad confusion. My attorney was out of the car in a flash, waving a $5 bill. "We want this car parked. I'm an old friend of Debbie's. I used to romp with her." For a moment I thought he had blown it. Then one of the doormen reached out for the bill, saying, Okay, I'll take care of it, sir." And he tore off a parking stub. "Holy shit," I said as we hurried through the lobby. "They almost had us there. That was some quick thinking." "What do you expect?" he said. "I'm your attorney, and you owe me $5. I want it now." I shrugged and gave him a bill. This garish, deep, Orlon-carpeted lobby of the Desert Inn seemed an inappropriate place to be haggling about nickel-dime bribes for the parking lot attendant. This was Bob Hope's turf, Frank Sinatra's, Spiro Agnew's. The lobby fairly reeked of high-grade formica and plastic palm trees. It was clearly a high-class refuge for big spenders. We approached the grand ballroom full of confidence, but they refused to let us in. "We were too late," said a man in a wine-colored tuxedo. "The house was already full. No seats left at any price." "Fuck seats," said my attorney. "We're old friends of Debbie's. We drove all the way from L.A. for the show, and we goddamn well going in." The tux man began jabbering about fire regulations, but my attorney refused to listen. Finally, after a lot of bad noise, he let us in for nothing, provided we would stand quietly in the back and not smoke. We promised, but the moment we got inside, we lost control. The tension had been too great. Debbie Reynolds was yucking across the stage in a silver afro wig, to the tune of Sgt. Pepper from the Golden Trumpet of Harry James. "Jesus creeping shit," said my attorney. We've wandered into a time capsule. Heavy hands grabbed our shoulders. I jammed the hash pipe back into my pocket just in time. We were dragged across the lobby and held up against the front door by goons until our car was fetched up. Okay, get lost, said the Wine Tux man. We're giving you a break. If Devi has friends like you guys, she's in worse trouble than I thought. We'll see about this, my attorney shouted as we drove away. You paranoid scum. I drove around the Circus casino and parked near the back door. This is the place, I said. They'll never fuck with us here. Where's the ether, my attorney said. This mescaline isn't working. I gave him the key to the trunk while I lit up the hash pipe. He came back with the ether bottle, uncapped it, then poured some into a Kleenex and mashed it under his nose, breathing heavily. I soaked another Kleenex and fouled my own nose. The smell was overwhelming, even with the top down. Soon we were staggering up the stairs toward the entrance, laughing stupidly and dragging each other along like drunks. This is the main advantage of ether. It makes you behave like the village drunkard, or in some early Irish novel. Total loss of all basic motor skills. Blurred vision, no balance, numb tongue. Severance of all connection between the body and the brain. Which is interesting, because the brain continues to function more or less normally. You can actually watch yourself behaving in this terrible way, but you can't control it. You perch the turnstile leading to the circus, and you know that when you get there, you have to give the man $2 or he won't let you inside. But when you get there, everything goes wrong. You misjudge the distance to the turnstile and slam against it and bounce off and grab a hold of an old woman to keep from falling. Some angry Rotarian shoves you and you think, what's happening here? What's going on? Oop. Oh, damn. Sorry. Just when the story was getting good. Hold on. Apologies, folks. Oh, isn't this fun for the camera to ruin the vibes? There we go. Now, where were we? Something about falling onto old ladies and having Rotarians yell at you. It was, here we are. You perch the turnstiles leading to the circus, and you know that when you get there, you have to give the man $2 or he won't let you inside. But when you get there, everything goes wrong. You misjudge the distance to the turnstile and slam against it. Bounce off and grab hold of an old woman to keep from falling. Some angry Rotarian shoves you, and you think, what's happening here? What's going on? Then you hear yourself mumbling, dogs fucked the Pope, no fault of mine. Watch out. Why money? My name is Brinks. I was born? Get sheep overside. Women and children to armored car. Orders from Captain Zeep. Ah, devil ether. A total body drug. The mind recoils in horror, unable to communicate with the spinal column. The hands flap crazily, unable to get money out of the pocket. Garbled laughter and hissing from the mouth, always smiling. Ether is the perfect drug for Las Vegas. In this town, they love a drunk. Fresh meat. So they put us through the turnstiles and turned us loose inside. The circus is what the whole hip world would be doing on Saturday night if the Nazis had won the war. This is the Sixth Reich. The ground floor is full of gambling tables, like all the other casinos, but the place is about 4 stories high in the style of a circus tent. And all manners of strange county fair Polish carnival madness is going on up in the space. Right above the gambling tables are the 40 flying Karazita brothers are doing a high-wire trapeze act, along with 4 muzzled wolverines and the 6 Nifit sisters from San Diego. So you're down on the main floor playing blackjack, and the stakes are getting high when you suddenly chance to look up, and there, right smack above your head, is a half-naked 14-year-old girl being chased through the air by a snarling wolverine, which is suddenly locked in a death battle with 2 silver-painted Polacks who come swinging down from opposite balconies and meet in midair on the wolverine's neck. Both Polacks seize the animal as they fall straight down towards the craps tables, but they bounce off the nets, they separate and spring back up towards the roof in 3 different directions. And just as about to fall again, they are grabbed out of the air by 3 Korean kittens and trapezed off to one of the balconies. Whew. This madness goes on and on, but no one seems to notice. The gambling action runs 24 hours a day on the main floor, and the circus never ends. Meanwhile, on all the upstairs balconies, the customers are being hustled by every conceivable kind of bizarre shuck. All kinds of kinds of funhouse-type booths. Shoot the pasties off the nipples on a 10-foot bull dyke and win a cotton candy goat. Stand in front of this fantastic machine, my friend, and just for 99 cents your likeness will appear 200 feet tall in any screen above downtown Las Vegas. 99 cents more for a voice message. Say whatever you want, fella. They'll hear you. Don't worry about that. Remember, you'll be 200 feet tall. Jesus Christ. I could see myself lying in bed in the Mint Hotel, half asleep and staring idly out the window, when a suddenly vicious Nazi drunkard appears 200 feet tall in the midnight sky, screaming gibberish at the world. Woodstock über alles. We will close the drapes tonight. A thing like that could send a drug person careening around the room like a ping-pong ball. Hallucinations are bad enough, but after a while you learn to cope with things like seeing your dead grandmother crawling up your leg with a knife in her teeth. Most acid fanciers can't handle this sort of thing. But nobody can handle the other trip, the possibility that any freak with $1.98 can walk into the circus and suddenly appear in the sky over downtown Las Vegas 12 times the size of a god, howling anything that comes into his head. No, this is not a good town for psychedelic drugs. Reality itself is too twisted. Good mescaline comes on slow. The first hour is all waiting, then about halfway through the second hour you start cursing the creep who burned you, because nothing is happening, and then zang! Fiendish intensity, strange glow and vibrations, a very heavy gig in a place like the circus. I hate to say this, said my attorney as we sat down at the merry-go-round bar in the second balcony, but this place is getting to me. I think I'm getting the fear. Nonsense, I said. We came out here to find the American dream, and now that we're right in the vortex you want to quit? I grabbed his bicep and squeezed. You must realize, I said, that we found the main nerve. I know, he said. That's what gives me the fear. The ether was wearing off. The acid was long gone, but the mescaline was running strong. We were sitting at a small round gold formica table, moving in orbit around the bartender. Look over here there, I said. Two women fucking a polar bear. Please, he said, don't tell me those things. Not now. He signaled the waitress for 2 more wild turkeys. This is my last drink, he said. How much money can you lend me? Not much, I said. Why? I have to go, he said. Go? Yes, leave the country, tonight. Calm down, I said. You'll be straight in a few hours. No, he said, this is serious. George Montesquieu was serious, I said, and see what they all did to him. Don't fuck around, he shouted. 1 more hour in this town and I'll kill somebody. I could see that he was on the edge, that fearful intensity that comes at the peak of a mescaline seizure. Okay, I said, I'll lend you some money. Let's go outside and see how much we have left. Can we make it, he said. Well, that depends on how many people we fuck with between here and the door. You want to leave quietly? I want to leave fast, he said. Okay, let's pay up this bill and get up very slowly. We're both out of our heads. This is going to be a long walk. I shouted at the waitress for a bill. She came over, looking bored, and my attorney stood up. Do they pay you to screw that bear? He asked her. What? He's just kidding, I said, stepping between them. Come on, Doc, let's go downstairs and gamble. I got him as far as the edge of the bar, the rim of the merry-go-round, but he refused to get off until it stopped turning. It won't stop, I said. It's not going to ever stop. I stepped off and turned around to wait for him, but he wouldn't move. And before I could reach out and pull him off, he was carried away. Don't move, I shouted. You'll come around. His eyes were staring blindly ahead, squinting with fear and confusion. But he didn't move a muscle until he made the whole circle. I waited until he was almost in front of me, then I reached out to grab him, but he jumped back and went around the circle again. This made me very nervous. I felt on the edge of a freakout. The bartender did seem to be watching us. Carson City, I thought. 20 years. I stepped on the merry-go-round and hurried around the bar, approaching my attorney on his blind side, and when we came to the right spot, I pushed him off. He staggered into the aisle and uttered a hellish scream as he lost his balance and went down, thrashing into the crowd. Rolling like a log, then up again in a flash, fists clenched, looking for someone to hit. I approached him with my hands in the air, trying to smile. You fell, I said. Let's go. By this time, people were watching us, but the fool wouldn't move, and I knew that what would happen if I grabbed him. Okay, I said. You just stay here and go to jail. I'm leaving. I started walking fast towards the stairs, ignoring him. This moved him. Did you see that? He said as he caught up with me. Some son of a bitch kicked me in the back. Probably the bartender, I said. He wanted to stomp you for what you said to the waitress. Good God. Let's get out of here. Where's the elevator? Don't go near that elevator, I said. That's just what they want us to do. Trap us in a steel box and take us down to the basement. I looked over my shoulder, but no one was following. Don't run, I said. They'd like an excuse to shoot us. He nodded, seeming to understand. We walked fast along the big indoor midway, shooting galleries, tattoo parlors, money changers, and cotton candy booths, then out through a bank of glass doors and across the grass downhill to a parking lot where the Red Shark waited. You drive, he said. I think there's something wrong with me. From Fear and Loathing, Las Vegas, A Savage Journey to the Heart of the American Dream, 1971. Ooh. Another full disclosure is that I actually was born and raised in Las Vegas, Nevada. And I will say, I mean, Thompson and... Oh, damn, what was his name? The Dr. Gonzo, his... the attorney in this book, Dr. Gonzo, was based off a real-life attorney, I believe, if I remember correctly, civil rights attorney, like Chicano civil rights attorney from L.A., who I think disappeared in the 70s or 80s, and was presumed dead. I think they he was kidnapped by the cartel, one of the cartels. Either way, though, I bring this up because the Vegas that Thompson and his friend went to in the early 70s is very different than the Vegas, even the Vegas of the 80s, not to mention the Vegas of the 90s and the Vegas of nowadays, which even that is completely different than the Vegas of yesterday. I mean, the city didn't really change that much up until 1989 with the construction of the Mirage by Steve Wynn, which was the first. The Mirage was the first mega casino. Like, it was the first real extravagant spectacle that this trip really could claim. I mean, like when it opened up, I don't remember. I was 2 at the time when it opened up, but I just remember reading about like just how big of a deal it was. You know, it had a volcano. It had I think dolphins. It had like hundreds and hundreds of rooms. It had tens of thousands of square feet of gambling space. It was obscene. And then after that was just the boom. In the 90s, Vegas just started building and building and building and building, where all these casinos, and they were always themed in the 90s too, at least up until like the late 90s, until 98. They started building these themed casinos that would have these like kind of gimmicky themes, but they were, like enormous and kind of meant for families, which was also kind of a new, certainly a new concept. Because before then, it was this Vegas. It was the sleazy, gross, disgusting Vegas that Thompson visited back in the 70s. But then by the 90s, you had like the Luxor and Excalibur and Treasure Island, places like that, which were all, meant for, like, oh yeah, bring the whole family over. You don't have to just come on yourself or come by yourself. Just bring the whole family and bring the whole family with you. Like, we've got all this stuff for the kids. We got the stuff for we got shopping for the wife. We got these tables for you to lose your money at. All that stuff. And that kept going, where it was the cycle of demolishing old Vegas and then putting in new Vegas. Where I remember as a kid watching on TV, they would make a spectacle out of the demolitions. A lot of the times they would broadcast them live on TV, and they would include fireworks, pyrotechnics, all these wild things. Get out of here. See, this is why. Damn it! This is why I need a new setup, and everything's falling apart. Like, I remember the what was it? I think it was the Hacienda. I remember that one was especially. Yeah, what the hell? I think that was especially wild because that was the one, I think, that they like basically blew up. They also set on fire. Or there was the. Like, actually, a lot of the places that he talks about in this book, like the Mint, that wasn't around. I mean, that was long gone before I was maybe even born, actually. But then in 1998, Wynn again built another casino called the Bellagio, which kind of set off a new phase in Vegas. The Bellagio being, it was sold as being this like extremely high scale, high roller place, like very fancy, as in, glass sculptures in the lobby, an entire atrium for like seasonal flowers, Picassos everywhere, including a restaurant literally named Picasso because it had like 6 or 7 Picassos inside of it. Wynn also collected art, I should mention too, and that set off a second phase in Vegas where the whole idea of the family friendly casino was just out the window, and it was now all about the high roller, fancy, classy experience. Like, were these places actually classy? No, of course not. But people thought that they were, so that's really all that mattered. This damn thing. But so then after the Bellagio, then started coming in all the other like fancy casinos, like the Venetian. Let's see, the Venetian, the Bellagio, the Wynn, which, I mean, talk about an ego thing. Just, let's just name the whole damn place after you. Although, if I remember correctly, the Wynn was originally meant to be called the Le Rêve, which is the dream in French. But when it was being opened, this was around 2003, which is around the Iraq War. And for those of you listening who are too young, before the Iraq War was happening, the Bush administration was trying to convince everyone to go to this, participate in this war that was entirely unnecessary, which it turned out to be. And that there was all this weird, and a lot of our allies refused to join us in that war, in particular France. And so all the conservative dum-dums decided to, for some reason, like, get on this anti-French bender for like a few months, to the point where a lot of places were starting to call French fries freedom fries, which is as stupid as it sounds. Because, again, the whole point of the war was to stop Saddam Hussein from using weapons of mass destruction. There turned out to be no weapons of mass destruction because of faulty intelligence, but we didn't care. We were killing civilians, we were throwing people into Abu Ghraib, torturing them. Some of those prisoners got released, and they decided to create a Islamic state that just happened to be called ISIS. Fun things like that. So, it turned out really well. That being said, the Wynn was originally meant to be called Le Rêve, but this was at the height of the whole anti-French nonsense during the start of the Iraq War. So it changed. They decided it would be better PR if they changed it to the Wynn. And then that kept going on. This like cycle of like new fancy hotels kept going on until 2008 or 9, which was the recession. The recession that was caused by the housing crisis, where it was mortgage lenders deciding to give out very piss poor mortgages out to people who cannot afford them, and hey, let's just give them, like 4 or 5 or 6 of them. Why not? And needless to say, Vegas, unfortunately, was the one place where it actually had the most mortgages. And by that I mean it was like plenty of people coming in from California. Originally, a lot of Californians moved to Vegas because, 1, land was cheap and the cost of living was cheap, and then 2, there was no income tax, I think, out there? No. Yeah, it might be. I think there might be no income tax out there, actually, which of course was very appealing. The cost of living nowadays out there is like pretty pricey, and like the cost of like a house and stuff. No, but it was also very easy because, again, they're passing out mortgages like candy, and so a lot of people had what they were doing where they would buy a house out there, and then they would buy a second house or get a second mortgage for a second place, and then they would renovate the second place, flip it for a profit, and then just keep doing that. Of course, the market crashed, and because that's not sustainable, and all these people not only lost their second homes, but they lost their primary homes, and so it ended up being so bad for Las Vegas that I believe, if I remember correctly, Las Vegas At the height of the recession, it was a full third of the houses in the valley were foreclosed on, which is insane, especially for a place with about 2 million people. I mean, you could do the math on how many homes that is. So then they kind of went through all these about the decade of like struggling. Maybe not a decade, but they certainly went through some years of struggling where a lot of casino projects were abandoned because they were still building things on the Strip all the way up until the start of the recession. But they had some things that were built that were only partially built or halfway built, and they were just literally abandoned, like just these giant structures just sitting there for years. And I mean, Vegas didn't get out of the recession until a few years after everyone else did. And even then, I don't think anyone's really learned their lesson, because from what I've been told, like they're still kind of doing the buying a second home, trying to flip it, that kind of thing. But I do know though that it is much harder to get a mortgage these days. So hopefully history doesn't repeat itself. But either way, the recession kind of ended the whole that current that era of Vegas, the like the high roller, high class part of Vegas. And then it was, oh man, I don't really know when it started, but I just know though that there's been a few oh shit, not eras, like there's been a few phases over the past like 5, 6, 7 years in Vegas that the city's gone through. Like for one of them, for some weird reason, it was Ferris wheels, as in there were 2 competing companies trying to make Ferris wheels, maybe 3. But only one of them was built because you only need one Ferris wheel, and the other 2 I think just like collapsed or something. I mean, why we even need one Ferris wheel, I don't know, but we have it now, so whatever. And then another one too was another popular phase was to build these like outdoor centers that like I think they kind of realized that there's space in between the casinos, because the casinos on the Strip for the most part are kind of like stacked on top of each other. They're very close, and that I think somebody realized that you could like build something in that space in between the 2 casinos. And so they started creating that too, where like one is called the Park, one is called the Link with a Q, things like that. I've been to them, and like there's like not really anything special. It's nice that you can walk around, I guess, but honestly, I should also mention though too, I don't live in Vegas. I haven't lived in Vegas since 2006, but I have family there, and so I go back all the time. And I can just say from experience, the Strip is a terrible place. It's dumpy. It's gross. People there are dumpy and dumpy and gross. It's overpriced. There's actually no reason to go to the Strip in Vegas. There's actually a lot of other fun things to do in Vegas. Maybe one of these streams I could have like I don't know. Maybe I could like pair it with reading more from Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. But like I could even have like a Las Vegas themed episode where I kind of go through like recommendations of stuff to do in Vegas while you're there, because I actually do have literally a written list down that I always give to friends when they're there, because there's plenty of stuff that you could do that doesn't involve gambling in Las Vegas. Oh yeah, so I like that this reading, a short excerpt from this book turned out to be this whole tirade about the history of modern Las Vegas. But yeah, I think I might call it now too, just because my voice is definitely not used to talking nonstop for 90 minutes, and I think I can. I don't know the science behind it, but I assume that's the more you do this, like the more heavy talking you do, just the more your vocal cords get used to it. I mean, like, Christ, there's people who do Broadway level shows singing 8 nights a week, or like 8 times a week, 9 times a week. So it's, so like it's definitely a thing. These days I don't exactly talk a lot. Oh, and speaking of which too, I mean, not to not to bring anyone down, but today is exactly the 1 year anniversary of when our interesting little adventure over the past year. Let's just call it that. And I realize that that the past year has been probably, to put it lightly, difficult for everyone, but like I started early on. I kind of started putting it into perspective, and I think that really did help. One thing I realized early on was don't watch the news. At least like last March, April, May, I never watched the news because why bother? I mean, it was just so dark. I also should mention too, I currently live in New York City, so I was here during the worst of it, stuck inside, hearing everyone cheer and clap outside every day. But it was there were some dark days, but but we're out of it now. That, and you also have to put this into perspective too. The fact that the last time anything like this happened on this close to the scale was almost exactly 100 years ago, like 102 now, or so, 103 years ago. And that, and that's that. There's that. Of course, there's the possibility that it could happen again, but like we now have a infrastructure in place, and we now have, like I would be a little surprised if, I can't say I would be surprised if our politicians screwed up again, but again, like we at least like know what to do if this ever happens again. And then I was talking with somebody earlier this week, and they were talking about, just disappointed, like, kind of like thinking of what could have been this past year and what they missed out on, and that sort of thing. And I told them, no, like, do not do that. Like, you cannot have that kind of thinking. You can never, never ever, how can I put this? I would say, like, never ever kind of like look back on something and regret it, the outcome that happened. To me, you always have to kind of accept what happened and move on from it. Of course, that's easier said than done. But I realize, though, that that's absolutely the way to do it. You have to, like the last year, it was painful for everyone. I mean, people were seriously infected. I had friends who were infected. I had friends who were infected and had symptoms for many months. I know a few people who died from the virus. I mean, it was not pleasant. But again, though, you just can't, you have to just say, you kind of have to tell yourself, what happens. For better or worse, it happened. Like, you just can't get stuck on it. You have to kind of like let it flow through you and just keep going, keep moving forward. I will say, though, like, it definitely, I don't know about everyone else, but at least for me, it certainly makes you far more appreciative of a lot of things, like things like simple things too, like going to a bar, or going to the movies, chatting with strangers in like a store, talking with random people in person, just any of that stuff, hugs for that matter. And I'm not really I hug, but like, I'm probably gonna be more of a hugger for sure. After all this, but like I said, you just can't get caught up in the past. You can't live with regret. You can't let it control you. You just have to be. That's not to say you have to be fine with what happened, but you have to just acknowledge that it happened and that you just have to move on from it. I think it does really help. Well, that being, I hope whoever showed up for this inaugural stream, I do want to say thanks, and I hope you enjoyed. And this is allegedly going to be sent to YouTube, although, again, I've used Twitch now like 3 other times, like broadcasting for other things. So I actually don't even know if I have it set up right. I'll find out. But if this does go to YouTube, if you want me to read anything specific, let me know. Again, I really want to read something I want to read goofy stuff like Chuck Dingle, and I have other like goofy books here that I have in my collection. But like I could really read anything if you want me to. Like I said, I just have to really build up my I just have to build up my vocal cords. Because, yeah, like right now they're already starting to kind of fray. But I think after a few of these, they should be a little bit better because right now I'm looking at doing this Tuesdays and Thursdays. Either at 8, maybe 9 Eastern time, because I know 5 p.m. on the West Coast would be a little awkward for some people. I mean, not really, not exactly a lot of people are in the office these days, which I'm actually fine with. But still, I mean, it would just, whatever would be easier for everyone. I'm just realizing now, too, that these hands and the dark sleeves, it makes me look like a Disney character. Okay. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed whatever the hell this was. Like I said, the technical stuff I still got to figure out, like this stupid autofocusing camera that's falls over like thing, and all this crap. But no, I would figure though, the more I do this, the more comfortable you get with it. But yeah, hope everyone enjoyed. If you have any comments, concerns, complaints, send the first 2 and fuck off with the third. Either way, I'll see you next time. Talk to you then.